Welcome to another video from Creativo Solutions. You are watching the podcast series of videos. This covers live content recorded from live classes. I hope you find this content helpful and I hope it will add value. Please post comments and questions below and consider subscribing to this channel. Visit the website if you require more resources to help you. The audio here focuses mainly on the financial manager's role. Hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so when focusing on the financial manager, we know decision-making is everything. You need to approach questions from a decision-making point of view because you'll be given a scenario, you'll be given a case study, you'll be given information. And obviously in reality, the same thing applies. You get a report, you get source documents, you get financial statements, you get information. And with information, you then have to make a decision. Right. Obviously, from a media perspective, you're going to be making decisions in that industry. So it'll be related to maybe advertising, marketing, procurement, legal, depending on what you're focusing on. When focusing on the financial manager, their role is key. So how would you describe the role of a financial manager? What is their role? As a financial manager, what are they required to do?
Aren't you a financial manager, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a financial
What do you
manager.
do in investing?
I mean, IT.
Okay, but even in IT, you're going to be looking at budgets.
But yeah, financial manager, I think it's somebody who needs to manage the funds accordingly, allocate funds appropriately.
Okay, that's good. So you're talking about allocating funds. That's a part of budgeting. Okay, you've covered budgeting before. So the main areas, investment decisions and financing decisions. Those are two areas, main areas. So investing versus financing. And that's spoken about in the textbook. So if I'm focusing on investing, what does investing mean to the financial manager?
Investing growth.
Yes, so we're looking at future returns. We're looking at opportunities. We're looking at allocating resources with the hope of generating more in the future. So future return, future benefits, future return on investments, ROI. Financing is what?
Financing. When you can I just explain it the way I understand it. When you finance, when you give a budget to something, a project, we put it that way.
Okay, so do you agree the investing is where are you going to put the resources? Do you agree? So do I go with this project or do I go with this investment? Okay, project or investment or asset. Okay, where am I going to put those resources? Financing is what resources are you going to be using? Debt or equity? Because capital is going to have to be raised either through the debt market or through the financial market. And we're going to invest that in different projects or investments.
Email us this. So can I just stop right here now? You can just listen.
Understanding is more important because you need to apply this. Okay, so you obviously need to know that assets equal owner's equity plus liabilities. We've looked at that before. You know that assets are financed through owner's equity, so debt or equity. The liability would be the debt, the equity would be the owner's equity. So money that the owner or that the business retains. So just to add here, debt would be the loans, etc. Okay, the equity would be the retained earnings. Right, so last time we spoke about a dividend. Do you know what a dividend is?
Portion.
Of what? You're right, it's a portion of what?
Okay, I understand it maybe in terms of when you have shares allocation, you get dividends.
Yeah, so what is a dividend for a share?
Yeah, I don't know how to talk about it.
A dividend for a share would be a payout of profit, right? Okay, so as a shareholder, do you own a share of the company? Yes. Are you entitled to a share of the profit? Yes. So companies choose to either pay out or retain profit. And if they pay out profit, it's called a dividend. Dividend.
So if they pay out, it's dividend, and then if it's retained, it's equity.
Retain profit.
It's equity.
Retained profit, retained earnings. Okay, the right word is retained earnings. That's what they refer to it as,
Oh, okay, I see.
because you're retaining profit, retained earnings. Okay, so the dividend is what I pay out to my shareholders for having invested in the business. There's the note about dividend decision. Okay, because it relates to this, the financing. So they've just broken it up. Investing, I can put different subheadings to that heading there. And the same thing for financing. Under financing, I can put subheadings. One of the subheadings could be debt. One of the subheadings could be equity, because that's a form of financing. Then under equity, I can talk about payouts or retention. Okay, so keeping profit within the business. So that's something they spoke about there. Later on, they talk about other responsibilities. So what are we going to do? We're going to manage cash. We're going to manage relationships. We're going to look at dividends, which is what we spoke about. And we're also going to look at risk. So that's looking at their role, their purpose, their responsibilities. So if I'm focusing on planning, financial planning, you could talk about something like budgeting. That's a possibility. Okay, because again, it's application. So we know that part of the financial manager's role is to plan and to budget. So now what does that entail? How would you describe that activity to someone who doesn't know what budgeting is? You've done budgets before, so what is a budget? What is a budget?
Okay, that makes sense if you're in my head.
What are you thinking about?
Okay, budget. So I guess when you're looking at in the business, perspective, so you need to have budget for certain things, operations of the business. So you need to have a budget for monthly expenses.
Okay, that's part of the budget. Good. So you could talk about expenditure. So you could be looking at expected revenue or income and expenses. Do you agree? And that's part of the budget. So when I talk about budgeting, I talk about planning income and expenses in order to get what? A view on what the business's performance is going to be going forward, right? Okay, so do you see application is key? You can't just tell me that the financial manager's role is financial planning. All right, because this is not the first time you've seen their role spoken about. Okay, in FinMan 2, they talk about similar things, but they don't talk about it in as much detail because it's not level 3, it's level 2. Okay, so you guys need to apply it more to the scenario. Okay, so if the scenario is talking about an ad agency, just as an example, okay, what budgeting would the ad agency have to do versus the budgeting that a bank would have to do? Okay, it's quite different, but the principles are still the same. Okay, you'll still have income, you'll still have expenses, but you'll have different income and you'll have different expenses, depending on the type of business you're running. Okay, so that's just one example. We obviously looked at more. We looked at cash, we looked at relationships, we looked at all of these. Okay, so I'm just recapping some of the content we covered already.
And that's the end of this recorded audio. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about the financial manager's role, please post them below. Consider subscribing to the channel and hit the thumbs up button if you like the video, and we'll keep creating more.